Can you imagine waking up, being excited to look at the stock you've been holding overnight? You take a look at it, and no, you're not just down the amount that you have in the account, you're down an extra $100,000. Well, you don't have to imagine any longer. This happened about 4 years ago to Joe Campbell. He had about a $37,000 account. He took a short position on KBIO, held overnight. The stock was sitting at around $2. They had recently come out with some news that wasn't so good of news. The company was deeply depressed into debt, and he wanted to take advantage of that and hold a longer term position on the short side. Now, we all understand the inherent danger of shorting something, and especially shorting something overnight, because you can lose an infinite amount of money. And yes, that is very uncommon for something to just skyrocket into infinity, but it certainly happens at least once or twice or more times a year. We've seen it many times. The one that really comes to my mind is DRYS. So let's say you short at $1, the thing goes up to 100. Well, guess what? With 1,000 shares, $99 difference, you just lost $99,000. Now, on the long side, if the stock goes from $1 to $0 and you had 1,000 shares, all you're losing there is what you put into it. So there's certainly some inherent risk with shorting, and that's why some people are turned off by it. Personally, I've never held a short position overnight because I like to be able to enjoy a good night's rest. There is absolutely no way I could sleep if I was holding a short position, especially on a penny stock. Why penny stocks? Because negative news hardly even affects them, because everybody knows they're such awful companies and most of them are in debt, and over 90% of them will inherently gravitate towards their intrinsic value, which is what? Zero. So negative news doesn't really do a whole lot. It's what people are already expecting. What does make these stocks do something is positive news, because positive news is unexpected. If they come out with some really good news on a company that's not really accurately valued yet, and not many of them are. Their market caps are so small, they can double, triple them, quadruple them, do what this stock did, KBIO, where he took a short position at $2, and then the next morning, he didn't even get it covered to like 16. So that company times 8 their market cap overnight. Now, if you're shorting a company like Apple is pretty accurately valued already. So the stock is not going to double or triple its market cap overnight. But there is certainly a big risk when doing that with some of these lower float stocks. And especially if they come out with bad news and then it gets really overcrowded on the short side, what happens is someone can come squeeze them out, which is what happened. So we're going to get into that. Before we do that, smack that like button. Helps the algorithm out, guys. Let's get into it.
Okay, traders, let's go ahead and get into this story and what happened, talk about it a little bit. But like I said, I would not be able to get any single amount of sleep, rest at all if I was in a short position on a low float stock overnight. Now, granted, this guy, it looked like he hadn't even been trading a year, so maybe he just didn't understand the risk. But he also thought that E-Trade was going to take him out of the position, which they normally would. But what happened was this happened overnight during after hours or pre-market when it's extremely illiquid and the news came out and the thing just spiked up. E-Trade couldn't take him out of it. How a short seller's account went to negative 106,000 on KBIO. And I do remember this stock because this was only 3 or 4 years ago. I can't find the ticker now when I look it up, but I do remember that one being a lower float stock. And certainly believe that the company was awful. No doubt about it. So Joe Campbell, a 32-year-old small business owner from Gilbert, Arizona, he liked to trade the stock market in his spare time. Oh boy. But recently got caught in a disastrous trade he will never forget. The story of his devastating short position in KBIO spread like wildfire in the financial press after he described the crowdfunding website, how his $37,000 account balance quickly turned into a negative $106,000 on the heels of unexpected news. Just in my short, little over 3 years in trading, there's one thing I've learned in the stock market, and that is the only thing I know is I don't know. You always have to be prepared for the inevitable, for the unexpected. Okay, so KBIO, which develops antibody-based drugs to treat cancer, who cares what it does? Yeah, that's the thing. I don't even look at the news anymore, guys. I used to look at it all the time. It really doesn't matter. I've seen the best news in the world tank a stock. And I've seen the worst news in the world do what KBIO did. Send it to the moon. Put your moon boots on, baby. The thing is, when a stock gets really overcrowded on one side, it tends to do the opposite, right? So what I do now is just buy fear, buy panic, and sell euphoria. That is mainly my strategy. I hardly even look at the news anymore. This is what I call it now. Fundamentals. I heard that before, and it's just spot on. So who cares about the news? We all know this company's in debt. The short trade. Campbell was among the short sellers hoping to profit from the company's demise. He sold $33,000 in KBIO in his E-Trade account at an average price of $2 a share. A lot more room to go up than go down. He then went into a work meeting planning to hold the position overnight. He stated on his GoFundMe page. This guy started a GoFundMe page to raise money after taking this huge loss. And we'll get to that because he actually raised a little bit of money. But man, you got to feel bad for that guy. I mean, what would you guys do? I feel bad for his family, though. Honestly, that's who I feel bad for. I'd start a GoFundMe for his family. I mean, I can't even imagine waking up and approaching my wife and saying, honey, let's just say I made a little bit of a mistake this morning. I really can't imagine that. Yeah, I can imagine blowing up a small account of $1,000. I can't imagine blowing up so bad that you lose money you don't even have. So this guy said I was holding KBIO short overnight for what I thought was a nice $2 fade coming. Oh boy. After the close of trading, they issued a press release announcing that an investor group comprised of Martin Shkreli and associates together have acquired more than 50% of the outstanding shares of KBIO, and that the company is in discussions with Mr. Shkreli regarding possible direction for the company to continue in operation. This guy is a hedge fund manager and an entrepreneur, founder and chief executive officer of another pharmaceutical company. He stirred up controversy in recent months after his company dramatically raised the price for a drug used to treat AIDS and cancer patients. So this guy knew what he was doing. Inevitably, KBIO soared over 800% in extended hours, trading on that news. And when Campbell got out of his meeting, he received a message from a very concerned friend. Are you still in that position, KBIO? Huh. Come to think of it, I think I am. At first, he worried. He may have lost his entire account of $37,000. He quickly learned that the situation was even worse. It spiked to 16. His account was negative over $100,000. He called E-Trade. His short position was covered at $18.50. Oh my gosh, that was even worse than I thought. Negative balance of over $106,000. Because Shkreli owns such a large position of the shares outstanding, his decision made it hard for remaining short traders to exit their position. So now this guy started that crowdfunding campaign where he said that $37,000 was capital that he could afford to lose. So that's great. I think that's wise. Those are wise words right there. Don't open up an account with money you're not willing to lose. That was smart there. However, he made the false assumption that there was a safeguard in place to prevent his account from going negative. He said, never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that E-Trade would not have some sort of stop or circuit breaker in place that would automatically cut a position if the account went to zero. He ended by saying, my plan moving forward is to liquidate mine and my wife's 401ks. You're going to liquidate your wife's 401k. And try to work out a payment plan with E-Trade. What an expensive lesson that was. I hope my story helps someone else from doing the same thing. So he was able to raise $5,300 through 151 donations before removing the campaign. And here is the account statement that day. His previous close was $33,000. He woke up with a margin call of $106,000. It's interesting here that, the pattern day trader account restriction warning says your account could go into a minimum equity call if the account value closes below $25,000. I think it closed a little bit more than that, but $106,000. What a nightmare. This is what he had posted on his GoFundMe page. Hello to all you traders out there. I'm starting this page out of the recommendation of other traders in the community. I hesitate on doing this, but I literally owe E-Trade $106,000. And what would you do if you were in my situation? You guys let me know what you would do. You post in the comment section below what you guys would do. If you just dig a hole and jump in it, or if you would post a GoFundMe or start an ad campaign or liquidate your wife's 401k. Tell me what you guys would do in the comment section below. He said, I'll do what's needed. I got to get them paid. So hand over them Benjis. I'm a fairly new trader. Been trading about March of this year. Wow. Learned a lot. Well, not enough. I was holding KBIO short for what I thought was a nice $2 fade. I saw the quote montage clear out and figured today there was no action after hours in the stock, so I went to my office for a long meeting. I get out of the meeting and saw a message from one of my buddies. He's asked if I was okay. Shoot, did I blow up my account, everything I worked for? I don't want to lose all $37,000. That'd be awful. It was much worse. Account was now over $100,000. I figured it was a mistake. E-Trade would never let that happen. They must have cut the position when it got to zero. Nope. I immediately called them and they confirmed I still owned all the shares. He says that it got out of hand too fast for them to cover me, and he says that all he can do right now is cover. I was devastated. I asked him to cover at 16. He waited, trying to get me a good exit, and I was filled at 18.50. Wow. Not only was my $37,000 gone, but now I owe E-Trade $106,000. Unbelievable. He's never one to ask somebody for a handout, and honestly, not sure if I should post this here, but here we go. I mean, what would we do in this situation, guys? Awful. But there's the dreaded parentheses. Us as day traders, we hate the parentheses. Today's realized gain. I mean, they try to put you in a good mood because they say, what did you gain today? I gained $144,000 in parentheses. The dreaded parentheses. We hate those. So that is the story, guys. I mean, what are we going to learn from it? I know for one, I'm not holding shorts on a low float, highly volatile stock that's not accurately valued. No, I'm not holding something like that overnight. Absolutely not, ever. I like to sleep well at night. I already have a hard enough time sleeping as it is. I don't need the extra stress of, not knowing what I don't know. If the company's going to release some type of news, or if Shkreli's going to buy half the company. Who knows what's going to happen? So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Smack that like button. Hit that subscribe button, traders. We will see you all first thing tomorrow.